Hi everyone, I'm Sal, co-creator of Salt and Pepper Productions,
And I'm Russ, content creator for Salt and Pepper Productions.
and today we are going to talk about Season 1 of the Promised Neverland anime. So we watched the anime over the summer and we loved it, so we thought it'd be fun to discuss our thoughts on the show overall and also some of the characters and also some theories and speculations for what might happen in the next season. I realize that there's manga for the Promised Neverland, but we haven't actually read the manga, so we don't know what's going to happen next, which is why, yeah, we just thought it'd be fun to talk about the show and discuss what could possibly happen next. So, for starters, let's start with our overall thoughts on the show. Russ?
Yeah, I really enjoyed watching the show, so I've seen it twice already. And I think my favorite part about it is just how you have no way of predicting what's going to happen next. And every time something good happens to the characters, there's always something bad to counteract that good. Like, for example, when they find the chasm, they they didn't know it was there. They climbed the wall and they thought, "Oh, we can just jump down," but there is a giant hole just like covering the entire perimeter. And I think that's what made the show really good. Like, they don't really reveal a lot in this show about the world. They don't really reveal like who the demons really are, like at least in the first season. And I think that slow progression is really, really good, and it gets you like really excited to just watch new episodes to see if something new will be revealed. And every episode we did get something new, whether it be like knowing about the characters or the world itself. Of course, a major part of the show that I think really sold it to me was the very beginning when we find out immediately that the kids are basically just cattle and they're being grown. We find that out in the very first episode, and a lot of shows don't do that. That's like a lot of shows like they'll show 3 episodes of the kids having a good old time, and then they'll show that. So I don't know if that's something that's like risky or anything, but it was really good and I liked it.
Okay, thank you, Russ. So I also really enjoyed the show. I loved how there were so many twists and surprises, and as you said, most of them involved the characters, but it was still really good. I was blown away by a lot of the twists, and also just how elaborate the writing was, just how much was going on behind the scenes, and how smart the characters was. That was something that really impressed me when I first watched the show, and the show had a real dystopian novel feel to it, and going off of what you said before, most dystopian novels or dystopian stories take place in this universe where everything seems perfect, and then, like, near the climax of the story, or when you're approaching the end of the story, the characters learn this horrible, shocking truth that changes everything. Like in Darling in the Franxx, which is not a novel, but, kind of takes place in a dystopian universe. The shocking truth is where the machinery that they used to fight the monsters actually came from, and the history behind that. And in books like The Giver, the shocking truth is what release actually is, and that was something that was introduced closer to the end of the book, like the middle of the book, approaching the end of the book. But this anime, The Promised Neverland, it drops that truth bomb right at the beginning of the episode, and if you read the synopsis, you kind of get the impression that, okay, something's going to happen, but something that shocking happening so soon, it really left an impact on you. Like, I remember when I watched the show, like, when I realized that the children were actually being raised just so they can be killed and used for food, and then realizing, oh my gosh, the numbers on their necks, they've been tagged like cattle. The tracking devices in their ears, again, just like cattle, and that was just something that was so shocking and so upsetting, and it just hits you immediately. Yeah. So now that we got our overall thoughts on the show itself out of the way, let's talk about some of the characters. So, Russ, do you have any favorite characters or any characters that really stood out to you, and why?
Well, actually, Sister Crone and Mother Isabella are two characters that are very interesting to me because they're both women who were given the choice, as we find out, to either get eaten or to start testing for being a mother, basically. And to do that, you have to abandon your humanity, basically. So you find out the truth of the world, basically, and you either can continue your life, raising children to have the same fate as all your friends, or you just die. Of course, most people would not be able to refuse living because they don't want to die. They're 12 years old, and to give them this choice at 12 years old, I can't even imagine it. You could say it's hard to say that they're bad people or anything. They just want to live. But they really do have to abandon all their humanity, and you can see it in their faces for Sister Crone and Isabella that they're not really alive. They're just living, if you know what I mean. You look at Isabella, and the whole time she's smiling. She's only smiling, even when she's mad, or you can feel she is really mad, but she's not showing it, that she's still smiling. The only time she really doesn't smile is at the end, at the very end, when she finds the kids escaped. But her smiles, you can tell they're definitely fake. They're not smiles that are genuine, though she might fool herself into thinking that, because, like she said, she loves all the children as if they're her own. And she may be happy to be with them, but deep down inside, you just know that she's feeling probably empty. And that's probably the same thing for Sister Crone. Even though she's all energetic and everything, there is no way that she is sane. As we could also see with her doll, which she beat up through the years.
Yeah, and hopefully we'll get to learn more about Isabella next season. The way they ended this season with that flashback to Isabella when she was a lot younger, I thought that scene in particular was very interesting and helped us understand Isabella's character a lot more. And I just thought it was interesting how similar she was to Emma, how she was this happy, energetic girl, and how some of the stuff Emma went through in the present day was similar to what Isabella went through way back when, how she lost this boy she had a crush on because of the situation, and how she wanted to escape, but then we saw her standing on the wall and she realized she couldn't, and how she ultimately wound up becoming a mom. And there's actually one scene in the anime where Isabella offers to help Emma become a mom, and I think she probably did that because she saw herself in Emma. So yeah, hopefully we'll get to see more of Isabella next season, learn more about her, and I really liked that scene because it kind of showed that, it helped us see another side of Isabella that we didn't get to see because she was playing mother the entire time with that smile on her face the entire time. And yeah. So I think my two favorite characters in the anime were probably Ray and Norman. I thought Ray was probably the most fleshed out character out of all the characters in the show, and there was so much going on with him. I remember when we first watched the show, I kept making comments about how emo Ray looked, But then, as the story progresses, and we learn that he's known the truth about the orphanage since he was a baby. He said he still has memories of when he was still in his mother's womb. So he knew the truth his entire life, and he was working as a spy for Isabella his entire life, and I can't imagine what toll that must have had on his emotional and mental well-being. So, no wonder he looks so, I don't know, emo or depressed. Like, imagine having to go through that, and like you were saying before, all these kids, well, not all the kids, but Ray's 12, Emma's 12, Norman is 12, so imagine having to hold something like that in at such a young age, basically your entire life. And the reveal that Ray was working for Mother the entire time, that surprised me. I didn't expect it, and learning how he was actually working for Mother, but also secretly developing a plan to help everybody escape, like how he took Connie's toy and left it out so Norman and Emma would find it and then go look for Connie and then discover the truth on their own. How he planned all that out, and how he was collecting goods that Isabella would give him and use it to try to build a machine that would destroy the tracking devices in everybody's ears. So, yeah, I was impressed by Ray's character and how there was a lot going on behind the scenes, a lot of secrecy, a lot of elaborate planning that the kids did, and yeah.
Right, and another character that I really liked was Norman. Now, throughout the show, Norman is giving off this vibe that he's the strong leader, out of the three kids. He's the one who feels like he has the most responsibility to take care of everybody. And I find that very, very cool. But also, we find out that him trying to be the leader does take a toll on him, which makes me wonder, like, is he really just faking his confidence? I mean, we can't forget, these are just kids. So them knowing about their impending deaths, I don't know. If you're a kid, you really don't want to be thinking about that. And I feel like even though he's giving off this vibe that he's like strong and everything, like the shonen anime character, he's still a kid and he's not perfect. Him trying to be the best he can for Emma and for Ray and for all the kids, it's nice to see that. And it's also nice to see that. But yeah, it's good to see he's not a Marty Stu, which is the male version of Mary Sue. And I also do not think that he was killed. Because remember, as was told, there are humans out there in the world who have equal standing with the demons. Now, I'm thinking, and this is just a theory, I'm thinking that Norman was probably given the option to become one of those higher-ups. Because he's told to go to a room, and Connie wasn't. I don't remember Connie being told to go into a room, do you?
I think she was dead when Norman and Emma showed up.
Exactly. I'm pretty sure they just killed her on the spot. But not Norman. He's out there somewhere. I'm pretty sure of that.
We'll just have to wait and see what happens. I mean, that would be interesting if he turned out to be alive. But, yeah. I mean, they're definitely keeping girls alive to be mothers, so I wouldn't be surprised if they kept guys around for any reason. So, now let's talk about Emma, the protagonist. So, when we meet Emma at the start of the show, she's this very happy, energetic character, and I guess you could say she's a little naive in the sense that she wants to try to escape with everyone, try to rescue everybody living at the house, including the very young kids who probably aren't old enough to fully understand what's going on, or maybe not old enough to walk or be able to go with them. And, of course, Ray is very vocal about trying to be practical throughout most of the show, how we can't escape with everyone. The younger kids are going to slow us down, and he even talks to Norman about it at some point. So, at the end of the show, we saw that Emma realized that, yeah, escaping with everyone is not realistic, it's going to be too dangerous or too difficult, but she doesn't want to abandon any of the people she grew up with, the people that she loves. So what she did was she put one of the younger kids in charge of all the other younger kids. That way the older kids can escape and hopefully come back to save the others. So she didn't abandon them, but she's like, I'll be back someday, but now's not the time. So it was nice to see that she grew, became, I guess, a little more mature and a little more practical, but she didn't give up on the people she loves. And it's interesting because I feel like the opposite kind of happened with Ray, in the sense that he was the very practical one, but then closer to the end of the season, like when Norman is about to be taken away, Ray becomes a lot more desperate, a lot more determined to try to save Norman and also to try to save the others. Like this scene when he tried to light himself on fire, we saw that he was really desperate and at the end of his rope at that point. So I just thought it was interesting how those two characters flip-flopped, how Ray was the practical one and Emma was the we have to save everybody, and then by the end Emma was the one who's like, I want everybody to escape, but we need to be practical about it, and then Ray was kind of losing it a little bit.
Right, it was good character progression, which doesn't really happen that much in a 12 episode season, which is nice. We got to see a lot of character development.
Yeah, the character development throughout the show was really good. Like, there were good character moments for Ray, good character moments for Emma, for Norman, and even for Isabella at the very end. So, yeah, hopefully we'll get to see more of that next season. So, there was a lot of food symbolism in this show, and it was pretty disturbing. Like, again, as I was saying before, how they were tagged like cattle, how they had tracking devices in their ears like cattle, but also the tests that they would take. I noticed that, I don't know what kind of test it's supposed to be, but it kind of looks like they're scanning barcodes, like what you would find on food packaging when you go to the grocery store and you're paying for your food and the cashier scans the barcode. That's what it looked like. And then also Sister Crone's death, how we kept cutting back and forth between Sister Crone about to be eating and then all the kids and Isabella back at the house about to have lunch. So there was a lot of food symbolism in this show, and it was pretty disturbing. Oh, and something else is even the poster for The Promised Neverland, like when you go on Crunchyroll to watch it, the poster that you see, Emma, Ray, and Norman are standing on a clock, but the clock's face is actually a plate, and the hands are a fork and a knife. So, again, lots of food symbolism in this show.
And also, if you look in the background, that kind of looks like those things you put on top of plates. What are those called?
You mean like a cover?
Yeah, like one of those metal covers that you see. Like, I've never seen one in real life, but that you know what they look like from like TV and stuff.
Right.
And there's another character I'd like to add that's interesting, and that's Grandmother. Now, you can tell that she's really in it with those demons. She's probably considered one of the higher ups that's, considered equal with them. But, is she really equal to them? Probably not. They'll probably eat her eventually. But here's what I'm thinking. Is she gonna end up being like a major antagonist? Probably. But is she someone who does this because she wants to? Probably not. I mean, who knows? Maybe she is that evil, but I doubt it. She's definitely a tool. And that makes me think, is everybody a tool? Everyone who's alive, all the adults, are they all tools of these demons? Which brings me to another good part about the show is how much hopelessness is a major element, major factor in how the characters act and how the plot progresses. So there are a lot of parts of the show which just make you feel hopeless. Like when we thought that Ray lit himself on fire, you see that and you're like, well, there's no way he's surviving. It's hopeless. Also the part when Sister Crone finds out about them, Isabella finds out that they know everything. You feel like, how are they going to get out of this? It's hopeless. When they find, like I said before, when they find the chasm, how are they going to make it out? It feels hopeless. And that's a big reason why I like the show. The show makes you feel like everything is hopeless. But in the back of your mind, you still know, like, okay, they're probably going to find a way out. But we don't know how. And that just keeps, like, hitting you. Like, if everything is so hopeless, if everything bad is just happening, that little bit of hope that comes out of it, out of, like, some of the bad, is that what's going to lead to them escaping, you know?
Okay, and I think now we're going to talk about some of our predictions for the next season. Russ, what do you think will happen next season?
So, next season, we're going to be seeing how the kids are going to be surviving. Now, I think there's going to be a lot of dangers out there. You know, we got the demons, but what else is there? We don't know what this Earth is like. We don't know what kind of dangers are out there. So, there's the books that were mentioned. I forgot what episode it was, but they were fictional stories. Now, I don't think these stories are totally fictional. I think the author was trying to give the kids clues about what the outside world was like and how to survive it. And that's how I think Emma and everyone, they're going to be using that knowledge of what they read to survive. I'm probably already mentioned this, but I don't think Norman is dead. He's definitely not dead. I think he might end up being like a spy. Somehow? I don't know. That'd be cool though, you know?
And if that were to happen, like, what if... That would definitely complicate things if he ran into the others again.
Well, yeah. I don't think he'd be able to run into them again. They'd have to run into him.
Alright, so... Since season 1 ended with the older kids escaping and the younger kids still at the orphanage, I imagine that the younger kid Emma put in charge of watching over the others will probably get some more screen time, more characterization, and, you know, bit of a focus. So I think we're probably going to cut back and forth between Emma and the older kids in the outside world and the younger kids back at the orphanage. And we'll probably also get some more focus on Isabella. Maybe, I mean, since season 1 ended with most of the children she was raising escaping and the orphanage being set on fire, I imagine she's probably going to be in some trouble because of that. And I also think we'll probably get to see more of the grandma, that she'll get some more attention, and maybe she'll be the main villain or one of the main villains next season, because she didn't have that much screen time. I think she appeared in Isabella's flashback, and I think she was also in the scene where Sister Crone was killed, but other than that, she didn't have that much screen time, so we'll probably get to see more of her. Any final thoughts before we end?
I think that's it.
Alright, so thank you for watching the video, and what do you think will happen next season? Let us know in the comments below, but if you read the manga, please keep it spoiler free. So, Thank you again for watching the video. Feel free to check out our other videos if you haven't already. Don't be afraid to like and subscribe, and hopefully we'll see you again soon. Bye!
Bye.